In the dynamic realm of international commerce and diplomacy, unforeseen turns of events can carry profound repercussions. The recent termination of a colossal $250 billion car procurement by China from the United States stands as a vivid illustration of such an occurrence. This unanticipated maneuver has unleashed shockwaves throughout the automotive sector and holds profound implications for global economic relations. In this video, we will delve into the specifics of this cancellation, the factors that precipitated it, and the potential consequences across various domains. Leaving us a like proved you like what we do here. Then be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to be notified of any recent video. Thank you. The annulment of the $250 billion car acquisition by China from the United States constitutes a substantial setback to both the automotive industry and the economic ties between these two global heavyweights. This verdict took many by surprise, as it was among the most sizable singular vehicle orders ever placed, symbolizing a substantial stride in economic cooperation between the USA and China. Why did China nullify the order? Numerous rationales have been posited for the cancellation of this order. Firstly, geopolitical tensions between the USA and China have surged, exacerbated by trade disputes, allegations of intellectual property infringement, and territorial waters conflicts, all contributing to a strained bilateral relationship. It is plausible that the Chinese government, seeking to apply economic pressure on the United States, opted to cancel the order as a strategic maneuver. Secondly, China has been making significant investments in its domestic automotive sector, particularly focusing on electric vehicles, EVs. The government has introduced an array of policies and incentives to foster the growth of its native EV industry. It is conceivable that the Chinese authorities, intent on diminishing reliance on foreign-made vehicles while nurturing their domestic industry, determined that procuring such an extensive order of vehicles from the USA would not serve their long-term interests effectively. Moreover, apprehensions about the environmental consequences of these vehicles also played a role. China has been earnestly striving to curtail carbon emissions and combat air pollution. Acquiring such a substantial quantity of vehicles, even if a substantial portion of them were electric or hybrid, may have been perceived as counterproductive to these environmental endeavors. The cancellation of the $250 billion order carried substantial economic implications for the United States. The automotive industry represents a pivotal sector of the American economy, and this order would have supplied a much-needed stimulus to automakers grappling with reduced demand amid the global economic downturn. The loss of this order not only translated into foregone revenues for the automakers, but also triggered a cascading effect throughout the entire supply chain, impacting thousands of jobs. Furthermore, this verdict cast its shadow over the American stock market. Shares of major automakers involved in the agreement plummeted in the wake of the cancellation news. Investors, already apprehensive about the economic climate, were disconcerted by the forfeiture of such a substantial order. The cancellation of this order also bore broader global economic repercussions. It signified a further cooling of relations between the world's two largest economies, potentially leading to a deceleration in global economic growth. Other nations dependent on exports to both the USA and China found themselves uneasy about potential additional trade restrictions and economic fallouts. Additionally, this decision underscored China's burgeoning economic clout and its willingness to wield it as a tool in its international interactions. Many perceived this move as a signal to other nations, signifying that China was ready to flex its economic muscles when deemed necessary. The termination of this order delivered a severe blow to the global automotive industry. It was viewed as a squandered opportunity for American automakers to establish a foothold in the swiftly expanding Chinese market. China boasts the world's largest automotive market, and this order would have enabled American automakers to cement their standing as significant players in the region. Moreover, this decision also cast doubt on the future of the electric vehicle market. The order encompassed a considerable number of EVs and hybrids, and its cancellation raised concerns regarding the demand for these vehicles. Nevertheless, it is worth noting that China has been channeling substantial investments into its native EV industry, and this verdict might have been prompted more by a desire to bolster its domestic sector than by a lack of EV demand. The cancellation did more than just disrupt expectations within the automotive sector. It also called into question the reliability of large-scale international trade pacts among major powers. The inherent unpredictability introduced by such a cancellation sets a precedent that could make other countries hesitant to enter into substantial commitments with either the United States or China. In an era where international collaboration is paramount for addressing global challenges such as climate change, pandemics, and economic inequality, this development could be perceived as a regressive step. Both China and the United States may contemplate bolstering regional partnerships as a result of this cancellation. For China, this could entail deepening trade relations with other nations in the Asia-Pacific region or further engagement with European markets. Conversely, the United States may intensify trade ties with neighboring countries like Canada and Mexico, or potentially extend its reach across the Atlantic to forge closer connections with the European Union. However, these regional emphases cannot entirely replace the enormous trade potential that China and the U.S. represent for each other, and it is uncertain whether they can fill the economic void left by the cancellation of such a momentous order. The cancellation could also influence the trajectory of technological advancements in the automotive sector. Had the deal materialized, American car manufacturers would have secured a substantial infusion of capital for research and development. A cancellation of this magnitude could potentially retard the pace of innovation, not only in electric and hybrid technologies, but also in areas such as autonomous driving and smart infrastructure. Conversely, Chinese automakers, positioned to potentially supplant American firms, could gain a competitive edge, further fueled by China's unwavering focus on technological innovation. From a political standpoint, the cancellation could provide ammunition for politicians advocating for protectionist economic policies in the United States. The narrative would pivot around the idea of American jobs and revenue being imperiled due to uncertainties in international trade. In China, it may bolster nationalist sentiments and the concept of economic self-sufficiency, which has been a growing focus of the Chinese leadership in recent times. From a consumer perspective, the cancellation carries mixed implications. On one hand, Chinese consumers will miss out on a range of American automotive technologies and choices, potentially narrowing their options to domestic brands or other foreign imports. Conversely, this could benefit Chinese manufacturers by reducing competition, potentially allowing them to consolidate their domestic market further. Nevertheless, diminished competition often translates into slower innovation and potentially higher prices for consumers. One of the most immediate consequences of the $250 billion car order cancellation will likely manifest in its influence on future diplomatic endeavors and trade negotiations between the U.S. and China. This decision could prompt fresh rounds of dialogues aimed at resolving trade conflicts, or conversely, it could deepen existing disparities, rendering future agreements even more challenging to achieve. Another facet warranting consideration is the impact of this cancellation on the global push for green energy and sustainability. The original order featured a substantial number of electric and hybrid vehicles, indicating an alignment with global initiatives to transition away from fossil fuels. The cancellation could be construed as a setback to these sustainability objectives, unless it is followed by a comparable or even more substantial commitment to green technologies. The magnitude of this cancellation could potentially prompt shifts in investment strategies on both sides of the Pacific. Investors might exercise greater caution when contemplating stakes in sectors heavily reliant on Sino-American trade relations. Furthermore, global venture capital may exercise prudence in steering clear of startups and ventures closely intertwined with U.S.-China trade, perceiving them as higher. And now let's hear from you in the comments section. If you enjoyed today's content, then leave us a like, subscribe, and ensure the bell notification is on to be notified of our recent content. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.